This November 8th, in addition to choosing your local trustees, you'll have to vote for 2 referendum questions. The first one is regarding to remove the mayor's ability to appoint members to the Zoning Board of Appeals and the planning boards. And the second one is to remove his power to appoint the village attorney. In each case, a yes vote will transfer the power from the mayor to the Board of Trustees. It was a Democratic majority who introduced the 2 referendum proposals back on August 15th during a Board of Trustees meeting. But it was not until September 6th that the board held a public hearing and passed the referendum, causing different reactions within residents in the Village of Mamaroneck. Some of them questioned the legality of the meeting.
Actually impact each one of us as village members very significantly. It's not beside the point. The decisions that are made on the planning board and the ZBA affect us very significantly on a day-to-day basis, is what's going on our roads, in our schools, in our streets, in our communities.
This is not about personalities. It's about making fair laws and then offering them to the public for a vote.
Seems to me that this is just a power grab on the, you're working for the Democratic Party, you're not working for the people of Mamaroneck. You're just trying to grab the power you couldn't grab in the last election, so you're trying to do it this way.
This is unbelievable on both sides. I'm taking nobody's side, but it's an illegal meeting and we're voting on it. Outrageous. Outrageous.
The point, the mayor asserts it's an illegal meeting. That's not been established. So we shouldn't repeat it as fact, okay? The meeting notice went out.
You know, go home, each and every one of you, and listen to what went on here tonight. And it's an embarrassment to live in this village.
After a very long public hearing, the Democratic majority passed the referendum to be added on this upcoming ballot. Now, with the elections fast approaching, the local Live decided to go to the streets to speak to residents about their knowledge of the referendum. So have you been aware of the referendum taking place?
No, this is the first I'm hearing about it, actually.
Oh, no.
You're not?
No.
Actually, no, I haven't.
Okay.
I live on the avenue, so I haven't seen anything either.
No.
The lack of knowledge within residents pushed us to investigate and speak with public officials to learn more about the chronological legal context of the referendum. In this process, on October 17th, Mayor Norman Rosenblum filed a lawsuit against the Board of Trustees. But does he have a case? What does the law say about appointments? Why appointing the village attorney, the members of the Planning Board, and Zoning Board of Appeals is so controversial?
I filed papers with the court in front of the judge, and they issue, it's a show cause order, and they have to answer it. I'm presuming they would answer it. They'd be silly not to, because that's the action they took. They have to show why they believe that my action, my request, is not proper. Now, the judge will take testimony from both sides, and he will make a decision as to is it proper, and they should find that the laws were illegal and the process is wrong, or in fact just go ahead on the ballot. Now, the irony is it's already on the ballot.
While it was convoluted, to say the least, it was by the book, and we checked it out with state authorities. All the timing was done, a little confused, but it was done right. He says it wasn't. The problem he may face, and I believe he will, and I think it's going to be resolved on Tuesday, is that my read, at least, of the Board of Election requirements is that there's a 5-day window from the time of filing in which someone could raise an objection.
He's over those 5 days.
Well, long past those 5 days.
To understand the problem about appointments, it's necessary to first understand the roles of the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Paul Noto is a former Village of Mamaroneck mayor and an attorney that represents businesses and individuals throughout Westchester in land use, zoning, and environmental matters.
The Planning Board handles all kinds of what we call site plan review. So they make determinations on whether or not something could be built in a particular location or not, how it can be built. They can, limit size. They can require landscaping and other amenities to make it a better project. The zoning board is a little different. That board is established by the state law. It is what we call a quasi-judicial board. So they actually handle appeals from the building inspectors. They only hear appeals. They don't render advisory opinions. They they don't really give you a lot of feedback. Like the planning board is much more interactive. You would go and you get their opinions, and they'll say, look, we think your trees should be here, your building should be a little lower, your building should be wider, or you need to put different types of window. I mean, that's the kind of things the planning board does. They're much more interactive, and they really shape how the community looks because they approve projects, and I think they have a very important role in the development of the entire community.
The reason it's on the ballot is to do something that changes New York State law. It becomes a mandatory referendum, which means it has to be on the ballot.
While Norman has been the mayor, during this process, it has nothing to do with Norman.
Okay.
It has to do with the role of the mayor in our village.
While the mayor bases his defense in the 2010 state law, which grants him the power of appointing board members and replacing vacancies, the Democrats believe that the power of appointing belongs to the Board of Trustees, as it was before the 2010 law, which passed with a Republican majority. But what happened in 2010?
It's relevant for those who are interested in the history that those powers of appointment only date from 2010. They're only 6 years old. And you'd have to go back to the history of what happened then and read the minutes and interview, as we did, who were the trustees, and to understand how it happened. But how it happens is really not important. I mean, what's really important is where we are and what these powers are and why they are inappropriate for the democratic function of the Village of Mamaroneck.
The Local Law 22, created in 2010, disbanded the previous process of appointment done by the Board of Trustees. This law says that the power of appointment would be in accordance to the state law and would transfer the power of appointing to the mayor, as well as fill vacancies for the boards. But the content of the law describes not only the number of board members and their terms, but it also authorizes alternate members for the planning and zoning boards. In 2010, the main concern fell into bringing alternate members to the boards and not into transferring the power of appointment to the mayor.
The Board of Trustees to appoint an alternate to both the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. The purpose is akin to a alternate juror. There have been several situations where applicants appear before both the Planning Board and the Zoning Board where they would have to make a decision that they want to go forward with 4 votes versus 5 votes.
However, in 2011, a new law emerged. This law is almost identical to the 2010 law, with the main difference that it eliminates the alternates. This law was passed with a Democratic majority. Finch told us on an email, quote, "This was a monumental change in 2010 hidden within the matter of alternates."
He was able to put 2 people in on these important land use boards without even a vote of the other trustees at the beginning, just a unilateral replacement appointment that in effect have continued since then. That doesn't sound right to me. That doesn't sound like the democratic process. It doesn't sound like the way we should be doing appointments to these very important land use boards, which is the reason why I believe they must change, and that's what November 8th is about.
The mayor appoints members of the zoning board and the planning board and the chairman. But again, it's not only my appointment, but it's got to be ratified by the Board of Trustees. So there's a parallel in there. There's another aspect to the local law, which is a New York State law, also clearly says if there is a vacancy due to other than the full term, in other words, someone resigns halfway through, the mayor has the authority unilaterally to appoint to fill that term until the next term.
Therefore, the holdovers during Rosenblum's term triggered the referendum, and it also led to the second referendum regarding the appointment of the village attorney. We were looking to hear from former Democratic mayors in the Village of Mamaroneck, but they declined to speak with us.
This is where you sit down and you work it out. I mean, that's why I don't understand why this is so difficult, why 5 people can't sit down and compromise. Shocking to me, but it is what it is.
The lawsuit that Mayor Norman Rosenblum initiated on October 17th ended on Thursday, October 27th, as the state Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Democratic majority. Supreme Court Justice Lawrence H. Ecker had decided that the meeting notices were valid, meaning that the referendums will still be on the ballot come November 8th. We've witnessed that many residents in the Village of Mamaroneck are not informed of the referendum due to the lack of information given throughout the village. This referendum can potentially change how politics happen in the Village of Mamaroneck, so make sure you are well informed before you cast your vote come November 8th. Reporting for the Local Live, I'm Alexandria Garcia.